All right, everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to my next guest. Loved him in Die Hard 2, Tales from the Crypt, Shawshank Redemption, Roswell, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and so much more. Literally so much more. Welcome to the show, who I can only assume is Stephen King's biggest fan. Welcome to the show, the amazing William Sadler. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, how are you?
I'm so good. Appreciate you hanging out with me. This is
my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I have this picture right here is Karen Allen that from A Stage of Twilight. I started watching it because I just kind of discovered it, and I watched the preview. Like, damn, that just sucked me right in. I started watching it, and I didn't get to finish it in time for us to talk, but you're amazing. That was amazing.
Oh, thank you very much. I like that movie. It was unusual. Well, first of all, Karen Allen is a delightful human being and a damn good actor. Holy crap. She is just wonderful. So I'm okay, but when you're doing a scene and the other actor is that good and listening that well, the scene just lifts off the page and you don't know where it's going. Neither one of you know where it's going. And it's just exciting to work with. It's a good flick. It's a little indie by Sarah Schwab wrote it and directed it. And it was done for $1.98. I think we shot it in 18 days. I think it's some of the best work I've ever done.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't want to spoil it for people. Tell them what it's about. It's a fishing movie. No, it's a wonderful flick. I tell you what, I felt like I'd gone to Oz when I was filming, because all my career I've been playing. I played lots of bad guys, and in big movies and little movies and good movies and bad movies, but lots of bad guys. This time I sort of got to play he's just a human being who loves this woman, and there's something wrong. And it was like, for the first time I got to sit down at the piano and play all of the keys instead of just these 10 keys here. Anyway.
Oh, it is amazing. Well, it's funny you say about, just the keys and stuff like that, because it's like, as I started to, one of the cool things about prepping for an interview like this is you start to look in and you start to remember the things that you forgot. There's obviously some key things that like stick in my brain when it comes to you, like Bogus Journey and, Shawshank Redemption and stuff. And we'll dive into those. But then it was like, I was reading The Green Mile and I'm like, oh, The Green Mile, what? And I'm like, oh, the dad in The Green Mile. I'm like, I almost like fell over. I'm like, because like all of a sudden it just flooded back in my head. I was just like, oh my God. Like I felt everything that you felt. And it was like, to go from like the Die Hard 2 bad guy and like that, it's an amazing, you handle those keys really well, I guess is my point, no matter which ones are in front of you.
Thank you. You're very kind. I'll tell you what, when the writing is strong, when the writing is good, like it was in The Green Mile and in Shawshank and in Die Hard, when the writing is good, the acting it's easy to submerge yourself in that stuff and just revel in it. If the writing is less than good, or sketchy or hard to, or untruthful somehow, it just gets harder and harder. You have to pretend that stuff is there that's not there, and you find your way through it. But with things like The Green Mile, where I couldn't, at the time that I shot it, I had a little dog. Our daughter was just a little fuzzy, blonde-headed cherub, and to see those two little girls, it was not at all hard to imagine the panic that would come over a father if one of them was lost. It's funny too, because I think Stephen King is he's just a master at putting his finger on, that's more frightening than monsters.
Yeah.
It's more, that's to scare the daylights out of people, you know, go shopping with your little kid and have them disappear in the mall for a minute. They're just behind that cart over there and they're hiding from you because it's fun. But your heart, but just that panic that they're gone. And he comes out on the porch and the screen door has been sliced with a knife and there's blood on the floor and they're gone. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, to go to places like that. Glad you liked it.
Oh, the Green Mile was I mean,
it was kind of it was a lighthearted jaunt down.
So we've worked with Frank Darabont so many times. I mean, he's so good. It's like the first thing that came in my head was like, how did Frank not get him to join The Walking Dead?
I don't know. I was waiting for him to call. I guess I should have called. Maybe I should have called him. But Frank was only attached to it for a little while. Just
in the beginning, yeah.
Briefly, yeah, I think briefly, and then it wasn't him.
So some of your early stuff, because you were huge in the theater, and when you were in Biloxi Blues with Matthew Broderick.
I remember that cast pretty well. We worked together for a year and a half. It's 8 shows a week for a year and a half.
Your roots in being in theater, I mean, like,
right.
Was it always the dream then to move into movies and TV and all that? I mean,
I guess I wanted to. I mean, all my heroes were in films. I'd seen The Godfather while I was in college, and everybody wanted to be the actors that me anyway. I wanted to be Robert De Niro or Al Pacino or Robert Duvall or Johnny Cassell or George C. Scott or Peter O'Toole. There were a bunch of actors out there that I admired, and I thought, holy crap, those people they're doing it, and I'm digging it, and I want to do that one day. And I was doing, and I'm doing, going from one play to another in a state university college at Geneseo. So I guess it was in the back of my head all the time that eventually I would get to the movies. But then I got a scholarship to go to Cornell, and I did that for 2 years and studied acting. And then I moved to New York City and did theater. I guess I did theater for like 11 years before I got before Project X with Helen Hunt and Stephen Lang and Matthew Broderick. And, I've often thought, I mean, I waited a long time. That's a long time to put off trying to get into the movies, but I didn't know how to get there. I was busy. I was working. I was a working actor. And the truth is, when I finally did get to the movies, it took me a few movies to figure out how to work for the camera. It's a different world. But a lot of the techniques, a lot of the things that were in my toolkit from the theater were perfectly applicable. Taking script apart, figuring out the beats, figuring out your character, figuring out what you're doing from moment to moment to moment was, all of that stuff. And there's a great deal of discipline required in the theater. You're not late. Right. You're not late. You're fired if you're late. There are 20 other people waiting to go on stage and 1,300 people in the audience sitting there waiting for the curtain to go up. And you have to warm up, and you can't have a dinner before you show up at the theater so that you're logy and you can't have a headache. There are rituals and disciplines involved. All of these people are counting on you. And it just kind of became automatic that I would be ready, when 3 a.m, when they finally get around to shooting your scene, you can pull it out of your ass. As tired as you are, you can pull it up. You can pull it up. It was good to have done all of that. So, yeah.
Is it after 11 years doing plays? I get the allure of I'm going to be a movie star. I get that, but is it a hard transition to go from something that's so uniquely you every night where you're getting that immediate feedback and that connection with the audience, to where you are filming something at 3 a.m. and maybe months later you end up seeing how it looks, and it never.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a that's a huge transition to me. Actually, my wife said to me back in New York in 70 whatever or 80 or what, said, you know, people make money doing this acting thing. You don't have to do it for nothing. I guess I happily would have continued to do it for nothing. It was always something that I loved doing. I always found it challenging. I always found it fun. But yeah, you get to the movies and you do it and go home. And that's it. There'll be maybe there'll be a cast and crew screening or a premiere, and everybody will dress up and watch the movie, but then you go home. And by that time you're shooting the next film. You don't know, you never see how it lands. And that I found, that was maybe the hardest thing to get used to, was that you do a TV show, you do a series especially, and you're in people's living rooms, you know, once a week or something. They know you.
Right.
You've had an impact. The performance is landing and people are going, you know, oh, I hated him. Oh, I just wanted to fuck him up or whatever. But you never hear it. Until you go to a fan convention or something, or bump into someone on the street and they say, you know, I loved you in such and such, or, you know, my dad and I watched Shawshank every month until he passed. And you start hearing stories and you realize people all over the country and all over the world have been enjoying this stuff. You just weren't there.
Right. So you're not someone who maybe sneaks into the back of the Die Hard 2 movie, like just at some random theater just to watch.
No, I can't. No, I can't do that. I would sit there with like this, my eyes closed. No, that's just I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to be objective about it. They can all be objective. They can be objective. I can be objective about all of the rest of my fellow actors, and they all look wonderful. They look great, and they're perfect, and their acting is good, and blah blah blah. And I watch myself, and it's like listening to your voice on a tape recorder or something. You sit there and go, oh Jesus, I don't sound like that, do I? Oh, why am I acting like that? Why don't I? Oh, that's not how Robert Duvall would do it, or whatever.
I bet Robert Duvall does the same thing. I do stand-up comedy, and so I would videotape myself, and I've probably got hours of videotapes I've never watched, because it's hard. It's hard to hit play.
How fun is it to watch yourself?
In the beginning I did, because you want to make sure you're not like doing weird stuff, but like I have a little quirks on stage, like touching your pants weird or something like that. But or leaning or rock. But it's hard. It's because you can hear, like, I'll listen to audio of me, but my feeling is that I always wanted to just walk away with the feeling of how I felt while it was happening.
I think that's probably okay. Yeah. It's funny, Dennis Hopper, I did a movie with Dennis Hopper early on in my career, and he wanted the actors to watch the dailies. And the dailies back then meant you filmed it, they put it on a plane in Austin, sent it back to LA, developed it, printed it, put it on a plane, sent it back to Austin, and he played it in a movie theater at midnight or something, and you'd watch the dailies with really bad sound, and it's just warts and all. But that's the only time. Now these days, lots of actors do anyway. I don't. Lots of actors run over to Video Village, the place on the set where the director sits with the producers and the script supervisor or whatever. And they sit and watch they're watching television monitors and they can see what the camera is seeing. They can see it exactly the way it's being filmed. So they can judge, is that, it was take number 2 that I really liked when he did that thing with his nose or whatever. It's a blessing and a curse, I guess, because now actors gather around the video village and watch the playback of their scene and direct themselves. You find yourself, if you do go over there and watch it, you go, oh, ooh, why did I do that? And so you go back on the set, and if you get to do it again. It's funny, I did what was it called? The Hunters?
Hunters on Amazon? The Nazis?
Oh no, that was with Al Pacino. No, this was with Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner about Bonnie and Clyde. It was a movie for television, and Kevin Costner and I had this big 15-minute long scene. We would do it, and then he would go outside. We would do a take, just one take, and then he would go outside and watch the video playback, and then come back in and do it again, and then go back out and watch it again. And my favorite way to work is, let's do it. And then right away, before anybody can jump in and adjust the lights or tinker with the makeup or before this place can fall apart, let's just do 3 takes in a row without any interruptions at all. Just go back to 1 and start again, bang. Because what I found by accident, but I found it, is that the first time through it, it's like you're here and you get to here. If you pause for 10 minutes and start again, you'll start again back down here and get to there again. If you can start again from there, you'll get to there. The energy will be better. The emotions are more raw. Your concentration is better. You're not, usually if you can do a series like that, like 3, it's usually like 3 in a row, quick, and then stop, and then fix my hair if you need to, or whatever. But generally, that's enough of a run at it to.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. The Highwaymen, by the way.
Highwaymen. Thank you. I had the first letter right.
Hey, that's fine. You have an extremely large backlog. It's completely understandable if you can't remember every single version.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Burdened by your own success. Can't remember.
If I was ever on trial and they said, Mr. Sadler, do you remember back in 1989 you did no? Do you remember this show? No. Do you remember that? No. Are you telling us that you spent 6 months on? No. Yeah, I don't remember. I've been blessed with an awful memory about those things. I keep moving like a shark through the water. I don't dare stop or I'll stop.
Do you wish you kept a journal or anything like that so you could look back at any given time?
I don't know. I guess I don't look. I try to keep looking forward more. Other people can look back at the body of work, and I mean, it's fun to do these. It's fun to do podcasts or talk to interviewers about this movie or that movie, and go back and remember what a dope I was, or because there's a learning curve. You have to know there is a learning curve to acting, first of all, and then acting on stage, and then to make the leap to film.
I kind of understand it. I mean, it's like you're in the moment, you are doing what you need to do, you've done it. And like you said, you're waking up at 3 a.m, it's in pieces. So it's not necessarily
right.
From my point of view, I'm like, he's got to remember everything from Die Hard 2. I just watched it yesterday. And
But it's all out of order too. You're doing it in little 3-minute pieces, completely out of order. It's not a play. It's not like, a beginning and a middle and an end. And why wouldn't you remember it? You're telling a story. I rely on directors to help me with that. I really do. I need them. I don't need them so much to tell me who this guy is or what he's probably feeling now, or how he's approaching this moment or that moment. But I really do rely on them to give me some idea to remind me where he is in the big arc of the movie, of the story. I love it when they come up and say, in that last scene, the guy pulled a gun on you. Thank you.
Stop hugging him. He tried to kill you.
So Jack, yeah, exactly. So don't be such a nice guy. Jack, crank it up a little bit. And I try to keep the big picture in mind, but you're right. Your job is to live this stuff moment to moment to moment. Your character doesn't know how the scene ends. Your character doesn't know what the next line is, what this other guy's going to say. You have to, as an actor, but you also have to forget what you have to be just laser focused on them and living in the moment, so that things can wash over you and so that it feels like an improv.
Right. Like you're doing it for the first time, even though you've.
Exactly. That's the only time it's really good, is when it feels to everybody like this was the first time anybody said any of this stuff. And it just caught fire and it exploded in his face. And then it's boom, cut. We've got it. Let's move on. But you can't be thinking, but at the end of this thing, they're going to catch me and I'll be really sorry. And you can't have that in your head when you're doing.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Maybe you remember this.
No, what?
This is more of a moment, not necessarily specifically. But do you remember what role you had where you were walking some random place and someone recognized you, either with a look, you could just tell they recognized you, but maybe, or they went Shawshank, or like, do you remember what role it was that triggered that first, like where someone recognized you?
Oh, the first time that happened? Or any time.
Well, I would, if you can remember the first time, I'd be interested. But I imagine like people, oh my God, Shawshank.
Yeah, or they, when I did Die Hard 2, that was the first real blockbuster. That was seen by a lot of people. That was a really big summer blockbuster, and I was naked in it, and which was terrifying all by itself.
I wrote that down. I was going to ask you about it because you were ripped in that scene.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't ripped when I got the job. And in fact, there was no nude scene in the script when I got the script. It was, I didn't find out about it until the costume fitting, and there was no costume for that role, for that scene. And which is an awful way. I don't know why they didn't bother to tell me. But Rennie Harlan, I said, "Where's the costume for the hotel room scene?" And he said, he's Finnish, right? He's from Finland. And he said, "Well, Bill, actually, I was thinking you would be nude." And I thought, I guess I must have paused for a minute or two. And then I said, "Okay, I can do that. But push the scene off to the end of the movie. Let's not shoot it tomorrow. And get me a trainer and get me in a gym." And they did. And so I spent more time worrying about my ass and my pecs and my trapezoids or whatever, all of those things. I spent more time pumping iron and doing sit-ups and crunches and what have you than I did worrying about the performance. And it was terrifying. It was that it was supposed to be a closed set that day. They did push it off. And I did spend like, I don't know, 6 weeks or something in a gym. And I looked pretty decent. The day we shot it was on, I think it was stage 24 at the Fox studio in LA. And I was in the gym at 5:30, pumping my brains out to get all kind of pumped up, because I thought that was the job, And then they put me in makeup, and makeup was everywhere, right? Because you're all sweat. You're supposed to be all sweaty. And they put scars and bullet wounds and knife scars and tattoos, and they put makeup things all over me. And then I got in a bathrobe and I went to stage 24, and I walk in, and this closed set, there's this line of chairs all the way across the entire set. Joel Silver, the head of the studio, is sitting in the center chair, and Rennie's next to him, and the DP's next to him. And it was like, I'd never seen so many people on a set. And there were secretaries bringing in pizzas and popcorn, and I did it, but it was much more public than I was thinking it would be. And there was a mirror on the back wall of the set. So the camera's here, I'm here, and there's a mirror there. So no matter which way I turn, they can't use it. They got, they're seeing junk, the junk in the trunk. Anyway, I was glad it was over.
It was definitely an intense introduction. I imagine you had to work out just to for you and Bruce Willis to beat the crap out of each other on that plane wing.
Yeah, well, at the same time I was in the gym, I was working with Benny Akitas, the kickboxing champion of the world. He was teaching me all of these, roundhouse kicks, and so that it looked like I was awfully good at this stuff. I mean, really good, like a total badass at it. In truth, I probably would have kicked my fellow actor in the head, and they knew that, so they hired and maybe they do this all the time. If you're watching that scene on the wing of the plane where I'm fighting Bruce Willis, if you're looking over my shoulder and you're seeing Bruce's face, it's probably not me. This kickboxer named Randy Hall. There was another one named Monty Cox, and they did different things well. And Monty was my stunt man, and Randy Hall could swing his foot across Bruce's face and miss it. He could. He was just really, really good at this stuff. And so when the camera's on me, if you're looking at my face, it's Bruce's stunt double. So if I screw up and kick him in the face, it doesn't matter, Well, it doesn't.
To him, it matters, but yeah.
Matters to him. Matters to him, but yeah. They don't have to shut down for 2 weeks while his jaw gets wired or whatever, And that's just the way. And through clever editing and fast cuts and so on, it just looks phenomenal. It looks great, and I was very happy to let Randy Hall make me look as badass as it did. And you asked about getting recognized. That was, I think, the first time I got recognized was going through airports after that movie came out, and the security guys at airports would stop me, and I wasn't well known enough, from enough different things that they would say, "Oh, that's that. Oh, that's that actor." I was just a face that they might have seen somewhere, and it wasn't good. And
they associated with terrorism at an airport. Yeah. So they had reason to be worried. You know that Netflix movie Carry On?
Yeah.
Where they were like, it's Die Hard. And I was like, no, it's Die Hard 2. Die Hard 2 literally took place in an airport. It's like everyone's like comparing it to saying this is the new Die Hard. I'm like, Die Hard 2 was that movie. It took place in an airport. Was it crazy though doing a sequel, knowing how big Die Hard was? I know this movie did even better than Die Hard, but
that scared me even more than being naked did. It was like, well, it's not, doesn't scare you. It's, those are big shoes to fill. The first movie was a huge, huge successful blockbuster, and now they're making the sequel, and everybody on the planet's going to take a look, and everybody on the planet's going to assume that it's not going to be as good as the first one. That's, you know, they're not really going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You're going to have to show them that, you know, it's different, and there's a reason we did a sequel, and this one's good too. The thing that surprised me is that it became a Christmas movie. That
yeah,
those
two because it happens like a year later, right? Also on Christmas Eve.
Those two movies, yeah, happen at Christmas. They both happen at Christmas, and now it's not Christmas unless
unless you watch Die
unless. But I understand that it is a lot like It's a Wonderful Life, and Jimmy Stewart
crash a plane.
I can see Jimmy Stewart taking over in the airport and crashing planes too.
You crash Cole Meany, future Deep Space Nine co-star.
That's right, bastard.
That was like the cruelest thing. When you talk about like with the Green Mile earlier, with, you know, the realism of something is scarier. But when they in Die Hard 2, he's like, make sea level or whatever, like 200 feet into the ground, so that plane thinks it's doing fine, and then just boom. And they didn't hold back. And like, it's like, that to me is just as petrifying. It's like, oh my God, because that's real. That's like, you know, that's a human error type thing. It's like,
yeah. And I guess the best compliments that I got were, you scared the crap out of me, or this one guy came up to me after he saw the film and said, you know, about halfway through the movie, I wanted to fuck you up. I just wanted to fuck you up. I'm like, okay. And then I think I did, you know, that was the job. That was the gig. So that John McClane would be, when he finally succeeds over all odds, because he's so tenacious and so clever, you just like cheer, you know, rips you right out of your seat, cheering. The bad guys go up in flames.
It's awesome. John Amos, it's a great cast. Dennis Franz. It's a fun cast too.
Oh yeah.
I think what helped, is that it was based on a book, so it had, like, for being like a structure. Like sometimes I think if like sequels you can go off the rails a little bit, but since it was, and Die Hard 1 was based kind of on a book too, I believe.
Right. I believe so.
And so this, you know, it gives it like structure, so it's like, it seems more real. Like it's not like, you know, just adapting the Die Hard thing. And then everything became Die Hard at some point.
It
became a trope, you know.
Well, oh yeah, then it was like Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on a boat, right. Die Hard on a. There was a funny moment when we were on the set. There's a moment where we're all the bad guys are around the nose of this plane, and Bruce is in the plane. We're emptying these automatic weapons at it, just thousands and thousands of rounds. And then we throw hand grenades into the plane, and Bruce is like, ruh-roh, and he straps himself into the ejector seat and pulls the lever, and right, and gets away.
Right, that's the whole scene where he's like, he shoots out like 50
right. When we were filming it, I had spent my whole childhood running around the barn with a BB gun, with my friend John Messer, diving out of the loft and rehearsing for Die Hard 2. When we did that scene, we did one take, and they're using full load blanks, right? So it's absolutely deafening. the noise that we're making, and there's brass flying everywhere. And we all finished, and Tim Cooney, the sound man, came over to me, took me aside and said, "Bill, you don't have to make that sound with your mouth anymore." Because apparently Colonel Stewart was going.
But don't you feel like if you really had a gun, you'd still make that noise?
I still do. I still do. Every time I shoot on, I fire automatic weapons at any plane. I make that noise.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's the same with, it's no different than drinking something going, it's something you do.
Or you punch somebody. I would punch somebody. Poof, poof. I was so used to making my own sound effects.
Oh, you mentioned Joel Silver. So you did a lot with Tales from the Crypt.
I did.
You were in the pilot, actually, and the first movie. And
he was kind enough to cast me. I did the very first episode of Tales from the Crypt, The Man Who Was Death. And Joel, the next thing Joel did was Die Hard 2. And that's how I became the villain in that, I'm sure. He said, "Oh no, I know a guy. I think I know who we can get to do to be this evil prick." And that's how that happened. And then I know what, there may have been a couple of others in there too, but Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight happened, and he cast me in that. Walter Hill was one of the producers on Tales from the Crypt, the show. He directed that episode that I did, the first episode.
Right,
he went on to do Trespass and cast me in that with Ice-T and Ice Cube and Bill Paxton. Frank Darabont, who wrote and directed Shawshank and The Green Mile and The Mist, he was a writer on Tales from the Crypt, the series. And he came up to me on the set and said, I'm writing this script and I want you to be in it. And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. And it was Shawshank, so
that's amazing. So
I have a lot to thank Joel Silver for. In some ways, I mean, the career that I've had is, he's largely responsible for putting me on the map.
It's amazing when you look back, isn't it? Like where the dominoes start and then just kind of keep going.
Amazing. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to get a start, if you're going to Tales from the Crypt, I mean, that was, you mentioned Walter Hill, Joel Silver, Zemeckis,
Dick Donner.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the amount of talent that went into, because I mean, that was like the first big HBO show where it wasn't, that's where actually it's not TV, it's HBO comes from, is that show.
I know. And my episode was up for an ACE Award. I don't think it won it, but we were up for an ACE Award early on. Yeah, it was, I guess it helped HBO get off the ground. Yeah, no, that's a powerhouse little group of directors right there. That's holy crap. And they kept me working for years. I very happily went from one film to another, around that group.
What do you remember from Shawshank? My actual question for you on Shawshank, the first thing that went through my head was, I wonder if someone who actually works with Morgan Freeman then has a higher propensity to always hear his voice every day.
Well, yeah. Hear his voice every day.
Like Andrew Dufresne, like just hear him, how he kind of narrates that movie. Morgan Freeman's got that voice.
Spectacular voice. Yeah. Spectacular voice. No, I don't hear his voice every day. I like that ad. He does an ad for, I don't even know what it's for. He does a couple of commercials now, and he uses that voice. He's very aware of how terrific that sounds. Andy Dufresne. Yeah. I mean, without that voiceover, boy, it just lent so much authority and so much humanity to explain for the audience that's what you're watching. That was the longest night I ever spent in Shawshank. But at every turn, at every important turn, he spoke. His voiceover carried us along. It was just wonderful. He was great to work with too, by the way. He was so fun. He was great fun. We used to sing doo-wop songs together. And he came to my house for dinner after we shot it. He came to my house in California. We had dinner, and then I had one of those CD players, music players that held 5 CDs in a little turntable, and you push a button and they go, and they go in on a servo like magic.
Right. I had one of those, yeah.
And I said, go ahead, pick out some music. And he picked out 5 CDs and he put them in, and then he pushed it. He didn't push the button. He just pushed the drawer and went, and you could hear the little plastic parts breaking inside. So thanks, Morgan. Great working with you too. I had a toothache while I was doing the film, and I went to the dentist, and he gave me he gave me drugs. Well, he numbed my mouth, so I was, and then he gave me something for the pain. And I sat, it was one of the dining hall scenes, and I'm sitting right across from Morgan, and I sat down, and he's looking at me and looking at me. He said, "You're on drugs, aren't you?" I said, I don't know. How could you tell? I guess it was obvious. But we enjoyed it. We genuinely enjoyed working with one another. We made each other laugh a lot. And the looks back and forth when shit hits the fan and Andy's going to get thrown off the roof or whatever, you gave him a rope, and all of the interplay and what have was, it was genuine and easy and fun. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about acting, especially acting on film anyway, from him. He makes it look, you can never see the gears turning, which is the whole game. That's
right.
He just makes it look effortless. And that's the stuff.
Shawshank's interesting because it's like, didn't crush it at the box office, and like over time, from word of mouth, it being such a great film just became the classic that it is. I mean, it's just like,
it was a flop. I think it cost $25 million to make, and domestically it made $16 million or something, and closed. It opened in the theaters and closed, and that was it. As Walter Hill would say, down without a bubble.
That's it. What's your feeling when that happens? And now flash forward decades, and it's one of the most, it's considered one of the best movies ever.
Well, first of all, I'm very proud that they think it's the best movie ever. That's kind of above my pay grade. I find myself looking at the stuff right in front of me on my plate. It's harder for me to see the big picture. I remember being disappointed that they pulled it from the theaters, and I thought that was it. And then it was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, and then it didn't win any because Gump won them all, bastard. And then when it was nominated, they put it back in the theaters, and so a few more people saw it in the theaters, and then it came out in video, and Ted Turner started putting it out on Turner Classic Movies. And that's how America discovered it. That's when people took it home with them. And little by little, it crept up on us. I thought it was over. I thought I had been, recognized in airports by security guys. And after I did Shawshank, I was recognized in a Starbucks. And I thought, well, that's a step up, a different class of people have decided that I'm on the map somewhere, but I don't think any of us expected it to become what it's become. You have to, Frank himself says, I think we caught lightning in a bottle. That's his phrase for it. He says, we caught lightning in a bottle. That's all. You couldn't change. What would you change? What would you cut? Who else would you cast and come up with the same chemistry, the same impact, the same likability of these people? Would you care about them at all? And I think we all knew it was a strong story, but I'm pretty sure none of us knew that it was headed for, the rafters where it lives now. It's still the last time I looked, it was the number one. It's still the number one movie of the top 250 films on the IMDb audience. Gosh, I like it list.
As it should be.
Which is crazy.
That is amazing.
So I've been in the greats and the near greats, and I've been in some stinkers,
One of my favorite, Bogus Journey, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Bill and Ted, the original Bill and Ted is probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Excellent adventure,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you as the Grim Reaper, Death, and the comeback then, 30 years later? My goodness. And Face the Music.
A whole 30 years later, we gathered again to do it. That was great fun. It was the same casting person, Karen Ray, who put me in that Tales from the Crypt.
You in Tales from the Crypt. That's amazing.
She was Karen Ray. I will thank her forever and ever. She was wonderful. But I got a chance. In some ways, I think the Grim Reaper, whose voice I stole from a Czechoslovakian actor in New York that I had worked with, named Jan Triskan. He's gone now, so sorry, Jan. But he spoke that way. He had that Czechoslovakian accent. He always was talking like that everywhere he went, and putting the accent on the wrong syllables, and he was just funny. He was funny to listen to. And the more serious or upset he got, the funnier he got. So I just stole it and used that accent for that character.
It's a great accent. I think it helps. Because it's like,
oh no, of course,
it's so hilarious. It's like, oh man.
Challenge me to a contest. But the great thing too is that I had played like bad guy, and the Grim Reaper starts out as a bad guy, right? So It's like, here he is again, terrifying. He's death. He's like, doesn't get much scarier than that until he starts losing the games, and then you see him fall apart like a babbling idiot. He's like the spoiled, petulant,
right, throwing tantrums, yeah.
little shit. He's like, best 2 out of 3, best 3 out of 5. I said glum.
Oh man.
And then and I got to be silly, which was I had wanted to for a long time. I had wanted to do something funny. I had wanted to play those notes on that piano. I had wanted to play the funny notes and be silly. And I finally got a chance to do that, which was, it's like they let me out of a cage and I just ran with it.
So hilarious, so memorable. Like that, it's between that, Die Hard, and Shawshank, that's my trifecta for you. My personal track.
That's the 90s. That's the 90s for you.
Let's talk about real quick. You're a singer. You sing. You have album out. The Kitchen Tapes. You're raising money for charity.
I am. I'm raising money for the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. But I made an album of the songs that I've written, and I've been playing and singing and writing songs for years and years and years. And during the pandemic, they stopped all production of films and things. So I couldn't leave the house. So I thought I would work up these songs, and lo and behold, you can send it to your friend who can get them to Denny Bonet, who is a wonderful violinist, and she put her music on it, and then send it to John Colbert, who played with John Lennon. He'll do the piano underneath it, and it'll come back to me, and they'll mix it. And what comes out sounds great. You know, I'd been doing coffee houses and things all around LA when we lived out there, and around here as well. But to make a decent recording of these songs was always a goal of mine. And I know people, actors have like 3 strikes against them already when they set out to sing and record music. And I can't get the picture of William Shatner out of my head, who smoking a cigarette and singing Rocket Man.
That is the greatest clip.
Elton John's Rocket Man. Burning out my fuse out there alone. We should all just quit now. It's been done.
Family Guy did a good parody of that, if you haven't seen it.
But lots of actors have, you know, stepped into the singing thing. I'm not alone. And I do realize that I'm, you know, my real bread and butter has always been in the film arena or Broadway. But I didn't want these songs to just disappear. And I've been writing poetry and songs for ages and ages. And I thought, let me see if I can raise some money for a good cause, and then kind of takes the onus off it. I don't have any illusions about becoming a recording artist.
Hey, it's a creative outlet.
Great. I don't want to wear tight pants.
And it's a creative outlet. Creative people need outlets, and
yeah.
You have a voice, and literally, and and
you got to do something.
You got to do something, right? It's
I know.
I think it's great.
I don't have a bad voice. I did have I had a casting person one time in New York. I auditioned for a musical called History of the American Film. The casting person called my agent after the audition and said, William is a wonderful actor, but he should never sing in public again. So if for no other reason than to prove them wrong, I'm going to sing in public as much as I damn well please. And the people that like it will like it, and the people that don't can, you know, if you wait a few minutes, it'll be over before you know it.
Exactly. I think you have a lovely voice. I listen to some of your songs. I think you have a lovely voice.
Thank you.
When I was listening to your voice, I was like, I felt like your voice, it had like an old soul quality to it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I enjoyed it. It was unique. It's not like what you hear. It's not like a pop, you know, it's not a pop song. It's like, it's kind of a folksy kind of like, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed.
Well, thank you.
I hope that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I haven't heard, I haven't heard any reviews of my album, but it's available on it. If you go to therealwilliamsadler.com, you can purchase the album in vinyl or CD, and the money goes, all of it goes to St. Jude's, and you'll get a autographed album or an autographed CD, and you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Love it. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I appreciate you proving once again that sometimes the most evil people on screen are the nicest people in real life. So thank you. I don't know why that is. It always seems that way. You know,
what is it? I got to Hollywood and they said, oh, no, he can be terrible. He could kill everybody in sight, you know, and then eat a sandwich sitting on their chests or something, you know. I'm one of the nicest people I know. But there you go. I'm glad they like me for something.
You rock it no matter what you do. So Thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out and sharing the stories.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.